All right. Well, we are live now, and looks like we don't have anybody on at the moment, but so great to join everybody, and thanks so much for stopping by the channel. My name is Bill Mendoza, and I'm a graduate research assistant here in the Indigenous Perspectives in School Librarianship program at Montana State University. And so, really happy to have everybody, kind of chime in today and hear a little bit about our special guest and to hear more about the Library Media Certificate program and some of the exciting things that are happening here at the college within that grant and the program itself. But today I am joined by a special guest and someone that we definitely appreciate and enjoy having within the program. And we thought that it would be great to hear a little bit about her perspective and some of the things going on in her world. So I'd like to welcome Jordan Langford, who is an Indian Education for All specialist and classroom teacher up there in Great Falls. How are you doing, Jordan?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Well, um, as they do in my area of the country, we always say, you know, who are you and who's your grandma? Tell us a little bit about your people and in Washichu culture, it's kind of like, what's your role? What do you got going on in life right now? So
What's your title?
exactly, what's your title?
Yeah,
But yeah, the more
yeah,
important one, who's your grandma?
right.
Yeah.
So my grandma is actually, her maiden name is Shortman. She's from Hodson, but I'm Jordan Langford Forster. My Aani name is Sikbion Nitha, which means bright trail woman. I am a Aani and Anishinaabe, and the government calls that Grovant and Chippewa. And I am an educator in Great Falls, Montana, and I am also an Indigenous Education for All instructional coach. It's currently known as Indian Education for All, but we figured if Cleveland could change the name, so could we. So we're starting this grassroots movement to change it to Indigenous Education for All instructional coach. And what that means is I help other educators in our district, along with my teaching partner, incorporate Indigenous content into their classrooms and curriculum.
That is awesome. I really love the effort to change these terms that either have implications to them or have newer horizons to them. Whether they're reflective of those efforts or something bigger and brighter. Um, so today we're talking about the IPSL project, as we endearingly refer to it. It's the Indigenous Perspectives in School Librarianship. It comes with a scholarship, that deadline for the scholarship and the Library Meter Certificate. You have to apply to both, if not the Library Meter Certificate first. And that is coming April 1st. So if folks have a question about that, we're going to get into a little bit of that. But uh, first wanted to kind of dig in a little bit with Jordan. How did you learn about the project and and kind of what has your experience been thus far? You're a graduate student, you're and a professional educator, if there ever was one. And so, yeah, how did you find IPSL?
Um, so a little bit, just backing up the story a little bit on my background. I'm a first generation college graduate, college attendee. And so I was never really exposed to or learned about the difference between a uh, a regular college degree or a master's program. And I think that when you're young, you want to graduate college so you can get out in the world and work. But being the first generation college graduate, I didn't really understand the difference until I got into the teaching profession. And then I was like, oh, that's, there's obviously a clear delineation between just a bachelor's of arts teaching certificate and a master's degree program. And so I had wished for a really, really long time that I somehow, some way, shape, or form would be able to get my master's degree. And I think that, just how life works is once you start your routine, once you start going on something, it's kind of hard to get out of that. And so I was just, it's so crazy that the deadline's coming up in just about a month, because I think to where I was just like a year ago. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I know I was just like praying and just like, please let this opportunity, like, how do I do this? Where do I go? Because everything that I had looked at was all in person. And that's really, really hard to do when you're already an educator with a guaranteed job. The programs that I wanted to do, I wanted to maybe get a master's degree in Native American studies. Or, it was all in person. And so I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And the college in our community is pretty great, but it's just really expensive. And I just was like, how is this going to come to fruition? And one day, a little less than a year ago, our director of our Indigenous education program passed out these flyers at our staff meeting. And he was like, there's this new opportunity. I just got it from someone. And he was like, you can get a library media certificate. You can go on and get your master's degree. And I was like, a master's degree? And he was like, yeah, and I guess it's all online. He didn't know much about it. Someone just told him about it. But he handed me this flyer, and I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. Um, and and then I started looking into the program, and I just couldn't believe this opportunity that was going to be flexible. It's really an opportunity that recognizes that you're a teacher, this is what you got going on, we're going to be flexible with you, and therefore it's online, the library media certificate program. And then obviously the master's program is a bonus if you want to continue into that. But just being afforded the opportunity to earn another certificate in in the school district was really a big deal. And the flexibility of it, I just couldn't believe that this was like a real thing. Like, I couldn't believe it was a real thing. So he handed out the flyer. And then, like, a week later, our state union president sent it out to all the union members and was like, hey, if you're interested, this seems like a really great opportunity. And then I was like, no, they're telling other people. Now I might not get in because now everyone's going to know. That was selfish on my part. But I was like, I just couldn't believe that this was real life.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. That is awesome to hear. And I think, we've heard similar experiences from some of the other participants in the program. One that, that excitement that there was a program that had flexibility. And you brought up some great points there regarding, it's a 21 credit program. It's all delivered online. So vast majority, if not all, are working professionals, and so being able to have that accessibility is important. And the scholarship was competitive and continues to be, and so we're really looking for folks that have that drive, have that push to be able to not only commit to the program, but also recognize that there are supports there. There are it's a cohort-based model with other folks that are either Indigenous or committed to working within Indigenous communities. Hence the Indigenous uh, you know name within the title, and it's just substance to it as well. The scholarship is intended for Alaska and Montana teachers, two of the kind of last frontiers, quite literally, in frontier designation, and so those states share a lot in common with kind of not only the concentration of Native students, but also the representation of educational commitment to those students. You mentioned IFA, Indigenous Education for All. They have the Alaska Native cultural standards. And so um, for those that as a basis for kind of how this curriculum is being redesigned, we're trying to attract students like you to the program, and others as well. So that's really good to hear, kind of how you had that experience, getting excited about the program. Because we're biased here, of course. We want students like you. We definitely, feel excited about the things happening here under the Library Media Certificate. So, how's that going for you? Like, how is the program so far? Given that it's hybrid, I know we would all love to be face to face, but kind of that's what rules the day right now. And yeah, how is that working out?
It was surreal to hear you say to whoever will be viewing this that, the deadline's coming up. And so it's surreal because I think of where I was a year ago and like, I want to go back to school. I want to become a better educator. I want to develop myself professionally. And so it's surreal for me to think that in just one more semester, I will have completed the library media certificate. That's just it's wild.
That's
And
awesome.
I can't express how grateful I am for this opportunity. Um, it's going really well. I mean, I can't. There's so many layers, and it's so interconnected of why it's so great. But um, part of our Montana standards and part of our Montana constitution, and then the Alaska has cultural standards as well, is that educators are already supposed to be doing these things. They're already supposed to be infusing this Indigenous content into their curriculum. And so it's really hard to know as an educator. I see this all the time as an instructional coach. Educators just don't know where to start. They're like, this wasn't taught to me when I went to school. This wasn't a part of my training. And so this program has been so wonderful in the fact that it's just, giving me so many new avenues to explore. And even though I'm not in Alaska, it's been so informational for us to be in this cohort and learn about the things that are going on in Alaska. Even though the Alaska cultural standards aren't pertinent to Montana, they have really, really, really great foundations and really, really, really great ideas attached to them that it's all intersectional. It's all intersectional because you might think like Montana, Alaska, that's kind of random, but due to our native population, our native
Hmm.
student population in those states, um, there's just so much connectivity in between our two states and what we're trying to do. And if you just think of you as an educator, as coming full circle, we want our students to succeed. And a big part of that is our native population. We have very, very high native populations. And so it's important for us to find these new avenues of how to infuse Indigenous content into our curriculum. And I don't want anyone to think that they're like, I'm an IFA instructional coach. I don't want anyone to think that you have to be well versed in any of these things to apply. That's the whole point of the cohort, is growing together and learning together. I've been an IFA instructional coach for 5 years, and I'm still learning great things through this program. So I don't want anyone to think like, well, I'm not Indigenous, so I'm not going to know the things, um, or I don't know about EFR. I don't know about the Alaska cultural standards. That's okay. That's the whole point of this program, is to allow educators and future librarians to be introduced to these topics. That felt really long-winded, and I'm very sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, everything. I couldn't even have scripted it better for you to kind of raise those points about, the accessibility of the program. We definitely, appreciate where everybody is at, whether you are experienced and knowledgeable within the field and have, that kind of that moccasins on the ground, experience up front. But as you mentioned, this is a place to kind of foster that engagement and meet people where they're at, in their educational journey, where they're at as graduate students starting that out. Um,
Mhm.
and, a lot of people in the program are definitely looking at that kind of continuing education, whether it's looking at the curriculum instruction or somewhere trying to leverage it in some other fashion. Is that something you're hoping to do as well, to kind of go?
Definitely, like, I mentioned, I've wanted to obtain a master's degree. I didn't know the avenue until this program just presented itself. But as far as the library media certificate part, I had my own bias about what a librarian is, or my own my stereotypical understanding of what a librarian is. And immediately upon being accepted and starting this program, it's so it's definitely, I don't think that people realize what a creative avenue this has the potential to be, being a librarian. Like, because you think of, I don't want to say that everyone thinks of this. This is how I thought of it. I thought of it
Mm-hmm.
as like the older gal in the library telling everyone to be quiet or whatever. But really, the leniency and the room to create whatever it is you want to create in a space is incredible. So I think that this isn't just for educators who are interested in this certain avenue. Like, I don't want to speak for her, but my teaching partner is also in the program, and her educational background is in art. And she is having a fabulous time in the program, understanding that you can create your own space, you can create your own content, you can create your own visuals, you can create your own activities, and just grow it into, it's in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of ways a piece of art.
Yeah.
It's really for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you think of even the representation on our board with, how dynamic some of the tribal libraries are in places like Blackfeet and Little Bighorn, and just, there's a lot of really exciting things taking place with, because there's flexibility in Indian country. Quite frankly, they're able to operate within a different jurisdictional realm, but having that background of uh, the modernization of the standards as they've been revised, and then now as we revise the curriculum, uh, infusing, integrating, however, you want to view that, the Indian Education for All standards into that, and Alaska Native cultural standards, that's going to be even more kind of relevant and important as we kind of advance librarians in the way that you said, bringing folks from different diverse fields of education and experience to redefine those spaces, because we've seen everything from maker spaces to just people doing some awesome things in the digital front, approaching things like copyright law and intellectual property within the tribal space, and so yeah, they're really really exciting stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
there's so much potential for you to turn it into whatever you really want it to be.
yes, yes, absolutely.
And
So
I just want to say
yeah, go
something
ahead.
really fast,
Yeah.
sorry, about like when you were talking about the libraries that the tribal nations have established. I think of the People's Center up in Pablo, so on the Flathead Reservation.
Mm-hmm.
It's great, it's wonderful. I know how I feel when I walk in, just how it's presented, it's wonderful. And I think where a need for this program has come in is that our students, not just our native students, our non-native students, our non-native community members, how much how much they would benefit if they had access to that content. And so Great Falls, where I'm at, it's considered urban, as urban as you can get in Montana. We say urban because that means off reservation. And we have one in every 7 students in our student population is Native, and they don't necessarily have access to that culture and that content and that information or that representation. And so I think it's really important for us to bring it to them.
No, that makes a I mean, that's a great point. How do we create those connections and connect our communities? And I've always long held that our families, whether they are on reservation, off reservation, or urban native centers, they are in different stages of holding down Indian country. It's all Indian country at the end of the day. And so, how do we connect those communities to be even stronger? And I guess to that point, I was just curious, like, you do so much in kind of the classroom space, and I see you have, I think that is that your business there on the, let me see if I can get that up for folks.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, Bright Trail. I know you from that work there, and definitely a great reputation there. Um, what why a librarian then? Why is that important to you? And to kind of have that added to your toolbox of already impressive skill sets and qualities.
Um, I appreciate that. Sorry, I'm embarrassed. Like, ugh. You know how Native people are? Like, they don't
Yep,
take.
yep.
They're just like, what
Okay,
guy?
stop
Yeah,
already, stop.
yeah, yeah. Um, I so my I mean every educator has a why. And I don't want to speak for every educator because I am definitely not important enough, but I think that for a lot of educators they can say I became an educator because I want to help people. And a big part of my job is closing that education achievement gap for our Native students.
Hmm.
And a deeper layer to that is recognizing gaps in things like literacy. And you know what? I mean, I think this is an all scale problem at this point with COVID, with how far behind our kids are. Um, so looking at the standards in the library and literacy skills and all of the things that you mentioned as well, it's it's going to help close this achievement gap.
Hmm.
So becoming a librarian and learning these tools and these models that are going to help our kids with their literacy skills, because literacy skills are the beginning of any class, even a math class. You
Hmm.
have to be able to comprehend and retain what it is that you're reading. And this program has been so beneficial to giving me the tools to begin closing those achievement gaps in a better, more efficient way.
Hmm.
And so I think that, if you're an educator that wants to help people,
Hmm.
like I feel most of us do, really this content and this curriculum is just wonderful. It's just wonderful. And I can feel it in my classroom too. I can feel when I'm now evaluating a lesson plan or beginning a lesson plan, writing a lesson plan, incorporating this content that I have learned through this program is just making me a better teacher.
That is
A
awesome.
more I shouldn't say better like I'm like getting really good at it. I should
Hmm.
say it's making me a more well-rounded teacher. It's
Yeah,
it's very much providing me more depth and breadth to reach students in a better way.
that is awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Jordan. And um, again, folks, we're talking with Jordan Langford. She's joining us there out of, I assume you're in Great Falls. I didn't get to ask you
I'm
that
in Great
question. Yeah, you're
Falls.
in Great
Yep.
Falls. Yeah, she's hailing from Great Falls and speaking to us. But about the Library Media Certificate Program at Montana State University and the Indigenous Perspectives in School Librarianship. It's a mouthful, but it's important. We endearingly refer to it as the IPSL project. And one of the exciting things that is coming up soon here, April 1st, we're in March. I can't believe it's March already. Oh my goodness. And this week's almost over even. But uh, is the deadline for this scholarship opportunity. So, for those of you just joining, or if you missed it, it's a 21 credit program, full funding for that program, pays for books, pays for tuition. It also provides an opportunity to attend your state library conference, and it's just a way for you to not only pursue a graduate certificate, but also maybe leverage that to get a curriculum instruction master's. At the end of the completion of the 21 credits, those can be applied towards that 30 credit master's of curriculars and curriculum and instruction. And so it's just 9 credits beyond that that you would have to pay for yourself. It's a great program comprised of uh, not only having to take the praxis for the exam, but also or for the requirement, but also a recommendation letter. Are 2 critical components to be able to kind of make it through that process, and those are all integrated. Everything that you need for that is integrated throughout the program, and we have a great passing rate for that praxis exam. Unfortunately, that is something that you have to pay for out of pocket. We're reminding folks about that. Um, but I think the last time we checked on that test, it wasn't anything too terrible in terms of a pricing for that. But let's get back to Jordan. You've already offered us a lot of insight on kind of what the significance of the program is for you, and how other prospective students, might be able to kind of find a connection to this. But what might you say to anybody interested in this program who might be hesitating because they think it's too much, or they don't think they can fulfill it, or it might be too competitive, and you touched upon you know maybe feeling like they don't know Indigenous communities as well as they should, or maybe they're taking a seat of someone that should be more deserving of the scholarship. There's a whole host of issues, but just give you some thought things there. I know there's a lot there, but does that generate any thought or reaction from you?
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into my personal beliefs, but I feel like if this opportunity has presented itself to you, it's for a reason. So I'm just going to say that I think that you should,
I
at
like
least
that.
apply. The worst thing that you can do is nothing. Um, but I also think that it's important to remember, there might be like, why? Why would I do that? Why would I do that? I can't remember the data precisely off the top of my head, but I remember legitimately being shocked about the data for the influx of students that we're getting, compared to how many certified librarians we have, and a huge gap, huge, huge gap. And so I want prospective applicants to know that there's definitely job opportunities in this field for you. If you're
Mm,
like, okay, well, I do that. Where am I going to get hired? Almost anywhere. Anyway, for the state of Montana. Um, I didn't realize how deficient school districts are with certified librarians.
mm,
And so, it's always just a thing to have in your back pocket, even if you're maybe not ready to switch your educational field. It's always a certification that you are going to be able to have. But also, really, just from my perspective, I have a library position that I will step into after I complete this certificate. But really, overall, what it's doing for me now is just making me, again, a more well-rounded educator in terms of literacy skills, getting kids excited to read, getting kids excited to be lifelong learners, and that's what we want.
That's great. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I should know those stats. I'm going to have that ready for our next conversation, I promise. So make sure to ask Deborah for that. Yeah, that's be something I know. Deborah is our grant lead and is one of the professors for the program too. So she is awesome. And um, you talked a little bit, I'm really curious. You talked about kind of your journey with us in this scholarship, but you know, how you where you were a year ago and kind of where the world was a year ago with COVID. How how has that changed for you? Is there any contextualization with this program, or the COVID implications, burnout? I mean, there's just students are interacting with school a lot more differently, and how have those themes and came up in the course of your coursework?
Yeah. So I still think that it's great that this course is offered online because just for me personally, that's the only way that I think that I would be able to complete a program successfully. So I'm really grateful for that. But also how the content is delivered has made me reevaluate the conversations that I have with teachers who have students, so teachers that I'm instructionally coaching, who have students that are either doing hybrid, so part-time in-person school, part-time online in our school district, in our K through 12 district. It's made me reevaluate like how I present that information to them and coach them through how they're educating students, because online can be really scary, and I'm at heart a face to face, like, talk it out type of person. And so I was a little intimidated signing up for an online certificate, but the all all of my professors thus far are so wonderful. They're always available to schedule a talk time. It's still via Zoom or whatever, but they're so flexible, they're so responsive. They are educators themselves. They get it. They're educators at the collegiate level that just went through almost a year and a half shutdown. They understand, and they present the information in a way that um, it's obviously digitized, but also something that I've found a weird. This is how you know you're an adult, when you like get mail and you're excited about it and it's a book. It's like cool because every semester thus far, all of the books that have been required for our classes are just mailed to me. At first I thought that someone I thought this I'm off the grid. I don't have an Amazon account. I thought that someone stole my identity and was
Mm,
using my information to order things off of Amazon. No, it was just my professors sending me the books that I needed for class. So that's been just so wonderful. Like I'm still just in shock and awe that this is real life, that this is a program that was available, that was presented to me. It's such a wonderful program. It's just, helped my personal instruction with my own students. It's helped my personal instruction with how I coach other educators. It's just, yeah, it's every time you say the deadline's coming up to apply, I'm just like, I can't believe where I was a year ago. Like a little over a year ago, I was praying for more opportunity to go back to college. And then it was just like, here it is.
that's awesome. And we hope there's other Jordans out there because she's right. The deadline is coming up, and uh, let me see if I can share this here real quick. Um, let's see, share my screen, and there it is. The application uh, deadline is April 1st, and this is one of those flyers, if not the flyer that Jordan might have mentioned that she received when she was exploring the program. I put this
Yes.
link here for folks to be able to kind of explore and learn more about the program specifics and but highlights. As we mentioned, we over the course of the grant, and we're in the second phase of that. We're going to be recruiting 30 students, 15 from Montana, 15 from Alaska. It covers tuition, online educational fees, books, and professional development as well. And then that benefit of pursuing that CNI master's beyond that, that would have to be out of your pocket, but you would have 21 credits towards that. So that's an exciting piece of that. And you also get one of the kind of cutting edge experiences within the library media sciences space when we talk about the redesign of the curriculum, not only being updated with the national standards that are out there for all programs, but also Indian Education for All and the Alaska Standards for Culturally Responsive Schools. Uh, so
Yeah, it says on here the need for librarians is expected to grow 5%
there it
faster than
is.
the average for all occupations
Yep,
in
there
the
it is
United
right
States.
there.
So if anyone's wondering, well, and here's the other thing too that I didn't realize because so we applied for it. We told our immediate supervisor, and then we told the building principal, like, hey, we just applied for this. My teaching partner Miranda and I, we applied for this, and he was like, will you get your, so you'll be a certified librarian?
Yep.
And we said yeah, and he was like, that's great. And then come to find out, schools get dinged
Mm-hmm.
for not having a certified librarian. So schools want to hire you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be a question or a concern. Schools want to hire you, and I think that's a bias of mine too, that like even in my own school, like walking in and there's someone in the library sitting at the desk, like in my mind I'm just like, oh, they're a librarian.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes schools just put people there to fill the gaps because they need someone there. That does not mean that they're a certified librarian, and they get docked by the state for not having a person there with a librarian certificate. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely the case, and I'm glad you bring up that point because we definitely um, want folks to take this opportunity. As you said, the demand is out there, and um, yeah, we need good people to be considered for this scholarship. So, uh, if anybody has any questions for Jordan, please feel free to type that into the chat, and I can run it by her. Um, I certainly you can contact us at librarymedia@montana.edu. We also have a phone that you can reach us at too, so you get somebody in person. 406 and then we are on social media as well, so please like and share, and trust me, there you know plenty of scholarships to go around, and even though it's competitive, please do share this with your neighbor and anybody who you think might be interested. So that's usually MSU Library Media on YouTube, and then MSU Library Media Certificate on our Facebook. MSU Library Media is on Twitter as well too. So please do share that. And um, Jordan, before we let you go, how can folks hear more about your work or connect with you in a professional way? And yeah, is there anything
Oh.
you want to share there? Yeah,
um brighttraileducation.com is my personal business that I run with my teaching partner. Can I talk just for a sec about the
please do.
structure of the program?
And let me make sure, brighttraileducation.com. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
So
All
you
right.
don't, okay.
Got that.
All right. I
Check. So,
appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah.
Um, so I was a little bit freaked out about going back to college and assignments and stuff. And the structure of the program is pretty cool in the fact that nothing has been due in the middle of the week. It's always on the weekends. It gives working professionals that cushion time. So it's not like a surprise. You know when your assignments are due. Everything is shipped to you as far as your materials that you need, which is perfect. That's part of the program and the things that are paid for you through this opportunity. Um, and then every couple of weeks, we get on for a live chat. If you can't make the live chat, that's okay. You can just go in and fill the questions in by the end of the week that are asked on your own time. But the live chats are kind of cool because you get to connect with people in your cohort. And then also, every once in a while, there's a webinar opportunity, which has been fun to talk to other librarians and just talk a little bit about, you know, ideas and the things that they're incorporating. And if you can't make that, it's okay too. Everything's recorded. I guess the point of this long-winded statement is that if you can't make specified times, it's so accommodating.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's always an opportunity to participate in some capacity. And then I actually met a gal from Alaska, and we were just able to co-facilitate a presentation for the Alaska State Conference, which was a lot of fun.
That is awesome. That is so cool.
It was very
Yes.
fun. It was
Yeah.
very fun.
Cool. Well, you definitely described that asynchronous aspect and how we strive to be synchronous in this day and age, you know, when we can't be face to face, you know, how we're trying to meet students' needs there and be very dynamic. But as you mentioned, you know, everything is accessible through
Mhm.
our different learning modules, or professors get really creative in terms of making sure that students can have an enriching experience. And yeah, I actually manage some of those sessions or symposiums, and you know, love having those conversations with different professionals. We've had board members, we've had other librarians come on, and you know, we hope to have others talk about specific things that are of importance and relevance, and broaden the horizon of understanding for our students. So those are exciting things that I look forward to as well. Anytime I get to engage with students like yourself, it's fun for me. So, um, well, with that, Jordan, thank you so much for joining us. Really proud of you and just everything that you're doing within the program and beyond. And yeah, if there's anything else you want to share, you know, say goodbye to folks. But just want to thank you from the team here at MSU and your fellow students for representing us tonight.
I appreciate you asking me to do this. It was really my honor to do this. I can't say enough great things about this program. And I can't believe that, again, just in another semester, I'm going to have this certificate that is just, you know, it's amazing that I don't know how you all came up with this idea, but it's just so amazing. It's so innovative. And I just want to wholeheartedly encourage anyone who's maybe considering it to apply. Just apply.
Awesome.
Just do it.
Awesome. That is so good. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Everybody who's viewing this after the fact, the emails are up there. The website is up there. You can get a hold of Jordan at brighttraileducation.com, and so yeah, of course we're going to promote what you do on the daily, because you know that's what we do. We good people, you know, connect with good people. It's all about uh, creating those connections between family and friends. And so, but thank you, Jordan, and thank you everybody for joining. Have a good night.
Night,
Take care.
everybody.
Yeah, Doksha.